Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Golf Luxury. 8. Competition scorekeeping does not equal sport. The fact that there is an element of competition, that is to say, a number of individuals competing against one and another, and scores are kept and tailed up throughout, some believe is sufficient evidence that golf is a sport. While both elements are common to both golf and almost all other sports, they do not, in of themselves, qualify golf as a sport. For example, spelling bees and poker have both of these elements, but few would argue that they should be considered sports. 7. Lack of speed, tempo. Most sports have some speed and tempo to them. They pick up pace and slow down with the tempo ebbing and flowing throughout the game competition. Golf does not. Players play their shots and then slowly make their way to the ball and play their next shot before proceeding to the next hole. The tempo rarely changes, and the vast majority of the spectacle is not the game itself being played. It is perhaps for this reason that no golfing event ranks among the top 10 competitions for viewing figures, whilst rugby union, cycling, and cricket events all do. 6. Age of players. In most sports, athletes have a peak and an expiry date. Most soccer players retire around the age of 35, and most highly competitive sports have similar or have even younger average retirement ages. The oldest ever professional soccer player was 50. The oldest American football player was 48. The oldest basketball player was 52. The oldest tennis player was 49, and the oldest rugby union player 40, yet the oldest golfer was 79 years of age. Furthermore, whilst in most sports players deteriorate with age, some golfers find their best form late in life, such as Tom Watson, who almost won the British Open at age 59. While it's all well and good that golfers can hit their prime later in life, is that really the sign of a sport? Sure, an activity requiring strong mental acumen and lots of experience, but not one to display peak athleticism. 5. Golfers are not athletes. You only need to look at some golfers to see that they are quite clearly not athletes at the peak of their physical conditioning. The likes of Guy Boras, Kevin Stadler, John Daly, and Mark Calcavacci are prime examples. Many golfers drink and smoke without it having any impact upon their game and form. In other sports, that is simply not possible. Whilst people can point to soccer players or baseball players who may have smoked, they still had a great deal of strength, stamina, or athleticism. It definitely sounds like something fun to do with your friends at some point, but how can a game justify itself as a sport where those kind of habits are permitted and don't affect one's game? 4. Skill doesn't mean sport. Some argue that the fact that golf requires skill and practice means that it is a sport. While it is undoubtedly true that golf requires a great deal of skill and ability and takes much time to become good enough to compete at the highest level, so do very many things which people would never claim were sports. Chess requires all those things, as does brain surgery or theoretical physics, but he would be laughed at for suggesting that those things qualify them as sports. 3. Much of the activity is walking. An hour of golf without a cart or caddy burns, on average, 360 calories. By comparison, an hour of basketball burns 727 calories, soccer over 900, and boxing even more than that. Golfers who use a cart burn around 208 calories, meaning that walking constitutes 42% of the work in golfing. Given that walking is not considered a major part of golf, as ruled by the U.S. Supreme Court in the PGA Tour versus Martin case of 2001, golf itself, which is the integral part of the sport, requires almost as much effort as the walking, which is not. Number 2, it's a game. While one can argue that golf matches the official definition of sport being an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment, the definition of a game seems to match golf far more accurately than being an amusement or pastime, a competitive activity involving skill, chance, or endurance on the part of two or more persons who play according to a set of rules, usually for their own amusement or for that of spectators. Calling it a game rather than a sport does not detract from golf or its players. It just seems to capture the essence of golf far more accurately than the definition of a sport. Anybody who has a skill set in golf should be proud of it, but calling it a sport just doesn't seem right to many people. 1. Lack of physical exertion. Ultimately, when one thinks of a sport, they tend to think of something which requires a fair amount of physical exertion. As stated in point 3, golf requires nowhere near as much effort physically or calories as almost any other sport. When ESPN ranked 60 activities by their athletic rigor, using factors such as endurance, agility, and strength, golf finished in 51st place. Almost all major sports ranked in the top 10. Table tennis and weightlifting both finished higher, with golf only narrowly beating roller skating and archery. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.